In the year 4386, in the city of Washu, during the era of technological evolution, the world was completely peaceful until a giant frog appeared, known as the King of Beasts. The monster started destroying the city, wreaking havoc everywhere, and people were fleeing in panic. At that moment, our protagonist Wong, a young boy, entered a shop to buy crispy noodles. At the same time, a team of magical heroes arrived to attack the frog monster. They launched their attacks, but they had no effect at all. In the end, the frog counterattacked, and they couldn't stop it. At that moment, the magician Joe noticed Wong on his way home, grabbed him quickly, and took him to a safe place so the monster wouldn't get him. Then Joe returned to fight the monster. Later, it was revealed that Joe had defeated the beast alone, and a statue was built in his honor at a prestigious magic school. He became known through generations as the hero who saved humanity. Time skipped forward to the first day of the new school term. All the students gathered at the Magic Academy, and Wong was among them. Two bullies stopped him, and one of them said, "You're from class 5, right? You're the weak kid. But don't worry, we're your older classmates. We'll help and protect you in this school. But of course, it comes with a price." They demanded his money. At that moment, a girl appeared. She was very famous, the daughter of the owner of the country's largest company, Flower Fort, and her name was Sun. The bullies yelled at her, telling her to get lost. But when she approached, they realized she was stronger than them and quickly ran away, saying, "You're a girl, and we don't fight girls." Sun gently reached out to Wong for a handshake and said, "Don't worry, I'll protect you in this school." But Wong misunderstood the situation, handed her his money, then walked away, leaving Sun completely embarrassed and stunned by what had just happened. At that moment, the hologram of Joe appeared before the students, and they were all amazed. He announced that he was there on behalf of the Magic Bureau, welcomed them to the school, wished them success, and introduced the test that would determine their magical power, which would place them in either the elite class or the regular classes. The test began, and the first student's name appeared on the screen. His name was Ko, and he looked unusual. The students murmured that he resembled an anime artist, and it turned out he was actually the creator of this story. Ko entered the dark testing chamber, where water covered the floor. He became nervous. Suddenly, a projection of the frog monster appeared in front of him, and he fell to the ground in fear. The examiner reassured him, saying, "This is just a simulation of the frog. You have to attack it so we can assess your magical power." Ko attacked the frog, but he was very weak and got thrown out of the arena, ending up in the regular class. The test continued, with most students being placed in regular classes. Then, a student named Chun entered, full of enthusiasm to fight the frog monster. He attacked with great power and made it into the elite class. The test continued, but only a few students made it into the elite ranks. Next, Sun's name appeared on the screen, and the students cheered her on. She entered the room and attacked the frog with incredible strength, setting a new record and securing her spot in the elite class. As she walked out to the cheers of the students, Wong stepped forward. The students mocked him, saying, "He's the weakest student in school. There's no need for this test. He's definitely going to the regular class." As soon as Wong entered the room, the atmosphere shifted. The frog recognized him and became terrified. The scene flashed back to the past, to the moment when Joe attacked the frog. At that time, the frog had actually struck Joe, knocking him to the ground and was about to finish him off. But at the last moment, Wong appeared, kicked the frog, and defeated it completely, all because it had annoyed him and stopped him from eating his noodles. Back in the present, the frog was trembling in fear and begged Wong not to come near it, saying that another hit would be the end of it. It was revealed that Wong was incredibly powerful but pretended to be weak because he didn't like standing out, especially since his strength was on an unimaginable level. As Wong prepared to strike, his power surged, obliterating the frog simulation completely. The screens in the room burned out, leaving the students unable to see what had happened. When the screens came back, the students were in shock. Wong had defeated the frog completely, entered the elite class, and even set a new world record. The scene shifted to the elite class, where the teacher, Pan, introduced herself. She began the first lesson on summoning magic, demonstrating a spell that summoned a giant fish. The students took turns trying, but most ended up summoning ridiculous creatures. Later, the students gathered around Sun, who had summoned a skeletal dog, which impressed everyone. The teacher then turned to Wong and said, "Aren't you gonna try? Do you need me to explain the spell again?" Wong gave it a shot, shocking everyone by summoning the frog monster itself. Even the frog was horrified, exclaiming, "Why are you after me? Leave me alone." The students panicked and ran, but the teacher assured them she would handle it. She cast a spell fell, transforming the frog into a green pet dog. Afterward, the students gathered around the dog, admiring it. Meanwhile, Wong quietly left the classroom and walked away. The scene shifts back to the past, to the moment of Wong's birth. His father was anxiously waiting outside the operating room. The nurse came out, looking shocked and unable to speak. The father panicked, fearing something had happened to the baby, and started crying. But then the nurse, still in shock, told him that the baby had come out walking on his own. At that moment, the father saw Wong standing in front of him and fainted in disbelief. The next morning, both parents stood beside Wong. The father had brought him a toy sword, a rare and expensive limited edition. The mother said she had spent 3 days searching online before she finally found it. Wong, however, showed no interest at all, while his parents were very excited. At that moment, Wong revealed his special ability, the power to read minds. He discovered that his father had bought the sword because he had wanted it for a long time but had finally found an excuse to purchase it. The same applied to his mother. She had spent 3 days searching for a fake version of the sword to save money, thinking that spending it on something else would be a better choice. His father handed him the sword, but Wong imagined all the problems that could arise if the sword broke in his hands due to his overwhelming magical strength. He quickly searched for a solution and realized the only way out was to act like a normal baby. The problem was solved, and his parents got distracted, completely forgetting about the sword. Over time, Wong discovered that he possessed immense magical powers, but he decided to keep it all a secret, even from his own family. 5 years later, when Wong was 6, the story returned to the moment he had defeated the frog monster. His parents were watching him at that moment, unable to believe what they were seeing. Afterward, his father took him aside and decided to make a special seal to suppress his magical power so no one would discover it. He successfully applied it, and his mother gave Wong a golden energy pill, claiming it was a nutritional supplement. In reality, it was meant to weaken his spiritual energy. But Wong had known this all along and never actually took the pill. His parents constantly worried about him. His mother recalled all the problems that had happened because of his extraordinary power, like when he nearly set the house on fire at his birthday party while blowing out the candles, or when he was 10 and accidentally sent the kids flying while playing with them, simply because the tag on his back controlling his power had come off. She only wanted Wong to live a normal life. The next day, Wong went to school. That day, class elections were taking place. Chun nominated himself and was supported by Gu, while Sun also ran, backed by all the girls in the school. However, the crowded area was uncomfortable for Wong, so he decided to find a quieter spot. At that moment, he spotted crispy noodles at the school shop and rushed over to buy them. But Sun's bodyguard had already bought everything in the store and was distributing it to students for free, on the condition that they vote for Sun in the elections. The students got annoyed and left, but Chun confronted Sun about her actions, accusing her of cheating. She simply replied that she was only helping the students. Everyone was surprised when Wong suddenly called out to Sun, saying he would vote for her in exchange for the noodles. He cast his vote and took the noodles, inspiring the other students to follow his lead. At that moment, Sun activated her charm skill on all the students, and it worked perfectly. As she walked away, she realized that Wong was missing. She asked her bodyguard about him, and he told her that Wong had left a while ago, leaving behind the golden orb, a ball of energy. Later, everyone returned to class, where the teacher was explaining the charm spell. All the students were still under Sun's spell, except for Wong, who remained unaffected. Sun grew anxious, fearing someone would expose her magic. She glanced at Wong just as he told her not to take the pill her bodyguard had given her. She thought he was trying to help and assumed he was encouraging her to take the pill. So she swallowed it, which greatly weakened her magical power, breaking the spell on all the students. The teacher then asked Sun to explain the spell to the class. She stood up but felt dizzy and tripped over a bottle on the floor, falling forward. Just before she hit the ground, Wong caught her at the last second. The teacher then called on Wong, saying, "Come, you explain the spell instead." Wong let go of Sun and performed the spell. Afterward, the teacher announced that Chun had won the elections, and Chan and Gu were overjoyed. Later, in his office, the teacher reported everything that had happened at school concerning Wong to someone on the phone. He expressed how impressed he was by Wong's intelligence and strength. At that moment, it was revealed that the person on the phone was Joe. Meanwhile, Sun was unknowingly under the influence of Wong's magic. She searched for him online, growing increasingly curious about him. Frustrated, she couldn't understand why she kept thinking about him so much. The next day, all the students were excited, bringing their magical furnaces for the lesson on crafting magic orbs. At that moment, Chun entered with a massive copper furnace, claiming it was his grandfather's, the one he had used to create level 9 energy orbs. Just then, Sun arrived at school. Chun walked over to greet her, but she ignored him and instead called out to Wong, embarrassing Chun greatly. Wong noticed that his magic was affecting protecting Sun, so he decided to get closer and cancel the spell. The moment he walked away, Sun turned red with embarrassment and collapsed to the ground. The students then went to class, where the teacher, Pan, explained the process of crafting magic orbs. The students eagerly began their experiments. Gu had a new, highly advanced device with incredible features for making magic orbs, and it was revealed that he was actually a spirit being. Suddenly, Chen's copper furnace exploded due to excessive power, and he started crying because he had destroyed his grandfather's furnace, fearing that his father would kill him if he found out. The other students continued working. The teacher informed them that the orbs would take 7 hours to be ready, so they all left, leaving their furnaces behind. As soon as the students were gone, the frog dog tricked them out of the classroom and sneaked inside. It attempted to swallow Gu's spirit furnace. Wong followed it and found the furnace inside the frog dog's mouth. The creature ran away from Wong, but he eventually caught it and retrieved the furnace. Meanwhile, Chun was still running on the track, recalling the moment he had asked his father for the furnace. His father had eventually agreed but warned him, if you don't win first place, you know what will happen to you. Back with Wong, he was washing the furnace when Gu caught him and got angry. Wong calmly said, I can explain everything to you right now. Wong explained everything that had happened, but in the end, Gu didn't believe him. He pulled out his gun, took the furnace from Wong, and fired a strange substance at him. At that moment, Chun was standing behind Wong and got hit instead. He collapsed, unconscious, and his body started changing color. Gu panicked, growing even more nervous as Wong grabbed Chun, and they rushed to fix the magic orbs and find a way to help him. Gu tried multiple times but failed, eventually leaving it to Wong and saying, I'll handle anyone who comes in. Gu went outside and attempted to stall the teacher and the students, but the teacher entered anyway. She inspected Gu's furnace and found a perfect orb inside. Gu was stunned, realizing that Wong must have secretly helped him by placing a perfect orb in his furnace. Then, the teacher turned to Wong's furnace and found a defective orb inside. Gu felt deeply grateful to Wong for sacrificing his own success for him. Meanwhile, Wong was secretly hiding Chun inside his copper furnace. In reality, it was Gu's orb that had become perfect after Wong had washed the furnace. From the start, Wong's orb had always been defective. Later, Gu and Wong took Chun to the garden, where he finally woke up. Gu smiled and said, You're finally awake. Chun looked behind him at his furnace. Gu said, We fixed your furnace, too. Chun was overjoyed. In the end, he thanked them, apologized to Wong, and started crying. The next day at school, Sun approached Wong. While she was talking to him, a group of assassins was targeting her, with one of them aiming a sniper rifle at her. At that moment, Sun asked Wong to be her friend and invited him to go out with her in the evening. It was revealed that Sun was in danger of being assassinated by a major criminal organization. Just as the sniper was about to pull the trigger, Wong suddenly looked directly at him with sharp eyes. The sniper was shocked, trembling in fear. At that moment, the teacher entered the classroom, and all the students returned to their seats. The teacher then called Wong to follow him to his office. Wong walked behind the teacher, using it as an excuse to escape from Sun. At the same time, Sun was now out of the sniper's line of sight, causing the operation to be called off. The mission leader told the sniper, There's someone incredibly powerful inside that school. Meanwhile, Sun was still following Wong and the teacher, and soon, news of Wong and Sun's friendship spread throughout the school. Wong entered the teacher's office, where Joe was already waiting. The teacher introduced Joe to Wong and said he had a question he wanted to ask him. Joe greeted Wong, and then the teacher left the two of them alone. As soon as the door closed, Joe asked, Aren't you the little boy who defeated the giant frog 10 years ago? Back then, everyone believed that I was the one who defeated the monster. Suddenly, Joe knelt before Wong and said, I have been searching for you for years. The moment I witnessed your incredible power, I was determined to find you and become your loyal servant. At that moment, Wong was annoyed that Joe had discovered him, so he decided to use the forgetfulness trick on him. Then Wong left the room. When the teacher entered the office again, he found Joe looking extremely anxious. Meanwhile, Wong sat to the side, taking out his crispy noodles, ready to eat. But then, the dog frog approached him and warned him, There are assassins in the school. The next morning, Wong woke up, brushed his teeth, and looked out the window, only to be shocked to see Sun waiting for him outside with an entire fleet of cars and a large group of bodyguards. He then went downstairs for breakfast with his family, thinking about how to deal with Sunday. To his surprise, his parents already knew about Sun and even encouraged him to befriend her. Suddenly, Wong found himself dressed and ready, as his parents had prepared him without him realizing it. They pushed him outside to meet Sun, and he got into her car as they set off on their outing. Reporters were everywhere, and even the assassins were watching the scene. Their leader ordered them to follow Sun until they found the right opportunity to kill her. Meanwhile, in the car, Sun told Wong, "Today, I'm taking you to an exclusive place called Heavenly Paradise. It's actually a real estate project owned by my family, combining economy and urban renewal." Wong was surprised to see that the place was completely empty. Sun explained, "That's right. My grandfather built this place especially for me. I told him I wanted to spend the day here with you, so he cleared it of all people just for today." They finally arrived, and the guards welcomed them. Sun was excited, but at that moment, the assassins had infiltrated the area through the tourist entrance, eliminating the guards. Their leader ordered them, "If you don't kill Sun this time, don't bother returning to headquarters." Meanwhile, Sun and Wong were exploring the breathtaking locations, as a tour guide explained the historical site in front of them. The assassins saw their chance, and one of them fired a bullet at Sunday. But Wong noticed just in time, caught the bullet with his mouth, and threw it back at the assassin, instantly taking him down. Then, he used the forgetfulness trick on Sun and the guide, continuing their tour as if nothing had happened. Even the assassin, unaware of what had really happened, assumed there was an issue with his gun. Sun and Wong continued enjoying the place. Every time an assassin got close, Wong eliminated them without Sun noticing a thing. Later, they got on the Ferris wheel, admiring the stunning view from above. The assassins also boarded, watching Sun and Wong closely. But this time, Joe noticed them and immediately realized Sun was in danger. As the Ferris wheel reached its highest point, the assassins climbed into Sun and Wong's cabin, pointing their guns at them. Sun confronted them, saying, "You're from the Dark Syndicate, aren't you?" One of the assassins smirked, impressive. "You're quite sharp." Just as he was about to reveal more, their leader cut him off, yelling, "Idiot, she's trying to extract information from you." Sun then stepped forward and said, "I'm the one you're after. Let Wong go." At that moment, a team of magical heroes arrived, preparing to rescue Sun and Wong. Sun started crying, but Wong grew furious at the assassins. Terrified, they backed away. Wong struck one of them, sending him plummeting from the cabin. The second assassin, shaking, begged, "Please don't kill me." But Wong grabbed him too, threw him off, then unleashed a fiery eagle attack, turning him into fireworks that lit up the sky. Sun couldn't believe what she was witnessing. This time, Wong looked at her and said, "This power of mine, it's our little secret, right?" Sun smiled and replied, "Of course." They continued watching the fireworks, enjoying the moment together. At that moment, the gang leader was sitting with her subordinates, telling them that the mission had failed once again and that Sun was still alive, which meant their client was not pleased with the situation. The assassin who had failed to kill her reported that research indicated a very powerful man was always protecting her. The leader grew furious, unleashed her magical energy, and eliminated him on the spot. She then addressed the rest of the gang, saying, "Since the founding of the Dark Syndicate, our mission success rate has always been 100%. We have always been at the top, but this is the first time we have been humiliated like this. We must kill her immediately. Do you understand?" The next day, the Dark Syndicate continued monitoring the school. As Sun arrived, they noticed that Wong was with her again. Wong met up with his friends, who looked around and asked, "Did we do something wrong or what?" Sun asked, "Why do you say that?" He pointed out, "Because your bodyguards have completely surrounded us." Sun was confused. Then the teacher approached and said she was still in danger, so she would remain under protection. Sun told the teacher, "But Wong and I had fun yesterday at Heavenly Paradise, and we didn't see any assassins or anything." Joe then appeared and explained, "That's because I dealt with the assassins first." The scene flashed back to the previous evening, as Sun and Wong were heading home. Joe, along with the mages and Sun's guards, intercepted them. Sun bid farewell to Wong and left with her guards. At that moment, Wong told Joe, "Remember, you were the one who took care of the assassins, okay?" Joe nodded. "Understood." Then Wong walked away. Back in the present, Joe continued, "I secretly eliminated the assassins who were targeting Sun, but the problem is that this only angered the syndicate even more. They've sent a message. They will kill her no matter what." Joe reassured everyone, "Don't worry. I've arranged the strongest security possible." The school was soon filled with heavy security measures, making it extremely guarded. However, the assassins were everywhere, still attempting to kill Sunday. They infiltrated the school from underground, silently taking out the guards one by one. One of them, named Shu, from the Hammer unit of the Dark Syndicate, led the attack. But Joe detected their infiltration. The teacher tried to calm the students, thinking they were panicking, but in reality, they were completely unbothered. Meanwhile, another assassin had reached the upper floors and released a strange gas. It was poisonous. He swiftly eliminated all the remaining guards in seconds. His name was Ping, the second-ranked member of the Hammer unit. Shu yelled at Ping, "This mission was supposed to be stealthy. Now you've let everyone know we're here." Ping smirked, "Just eliminate everyone, and no one will ever know we were here. Shu sighed, and what do you expect me to do? Every single guard is chasing me right now. At that moment, the bulky teacher charged at Ping, attacking him. But Ping effortlessly dodged the attack. Meanwhile, another assassin, the number 1 ranked member of the Hammer unit, Jian, who specialized in stealth, decided to strike. He prepared to attack the room where Sun was hiding, wielding his massive war hammer. Just then, Wong received a notification on his phone. It said he had won a free box of crispy noodles, which would be delivered to him via drone at any moment. Meanwhile, the students watched the fight between Ping and the bulky teacher. Ping launched a devastating attack, but his weapon shattered as the teacher effortlessly blocked it. The students were amazed by the teacher's strength. At that exact moment, Wong received a delivery confirmation message. At the same time, Ping activated his poison gas and forced the teacher to retreat. The teacher scowled. Cowards like you always resort to cheap tricks like poison. Ping smirked and turned to flee. Goodbye, old man. I finally completed my mission. Suddenly, Wong opened the door, and Ping ran straight into it, knocking himself out. Wong sighed, sorry, but I'm in a hurry. Then he walked off to collect his crispy noodles. Sun tried to stop Wong, but Zhou reassured her he'll be fine. At that moment, the bulky teacher apprehended Ping. Jian realized that Ping had been taken down. He asked Shu about the situation. Shu confidently replied, everything is going according to plan. I've already eliminated all the guards below. But suddenly, the frog dog appeared in front of Shu. Thinking it was just a harmless pet, Shu tried to play with it. However, the creature absorbed all of Shu's spiritual energy, turning him into an old man. Then, the frog dog transformed back into its original frog form and finished off Shu completely. Jian grew anxious. I'm the only one left. I have to finish this mission quickly. At that moment, Wong arrived on the rooftop. Jian panicked for a moment, but then reassured himself, it's just a student. Good, he doesn't see me. He's only here to collect a package. Wong picked up the oversized box of crispy noodles and turned back inside. Then he casually said, Jian, I was actually talking to you. I'm sorry to say this, but your assassination attempt has failed. Jian was furious. He roared and charged at Wong with his full strength, swinging his massive hammer with everything he had. But the opposite happened. The hammer shattered instantly. Jian collapsed, bleeding from everywhere. The syndicate leader received a notification that the entire hammer unit had been defeated. Wong then grabbed Jian, and as he was leaving, Zhou stopped him and said, you defeated them all effortlessly, as always. Wong sighed, then used the forgetfulness trick on Zhou again. No, you defeated them, he corrected. Afterward, they handed the captured assassins over to the authorities. Wong then pretended to be injured, acting dramatically in front of everyone. Soon, the news spread everywhere, celebrating the heroic Zhou, who had supposedly saved the school from a deadly assassin attack. The next day, Wong pretended to be sick. Sun had even built a healing chamber for him to recover quickly. Then, Wong's mother entered and told him it was time for lunch, so he got up to eat. She asked, how long are you going to keep pretending you're sick? It's been 10 days, and you're still acting ill and skipping school. At that moment, Wong's friends arrived to visit him, so he quickly went back to pretending to be sick again. His friends looked at him and said, you're still lying in bed? Then, Gu introduced his parrot. It was actually his pet. Suddenly, Sun remembered that she had forgotten the frog dog outside the door. They brought it to Wong, and his mother thanked his friends for taking care of him at school. Sun then presented a collection of powerful elixirs, nutritional pills, and even energy-boosting injections, all manufactured by her family's company, to help Wong recover faster. Everyone was shocked by the sheer amount of items she had brought. Sun was deeply worried about Wong and asked, do you really feel better? Last time you were on the ground, injured. Wong reassured her, don't worry, I feel a lot better. Chan smirked and said, Sun was so worried about you that she even called a helicopter from her family for emergency treatment. It was revealed that when Wong had been pretending to be injured, he had seen how truly concerned Sun was, even crying over him. Then, Chun stood up and said, the teacher told me to give you this bracelet for the midterm exam. Sun was furious. These exams drain Wong's spiritual power. They decided to give Wong the injection to help him recover instantly. Wong panicked, quickly jumped up, grabbed the bracelet and said, actually, I've been feeling much better these past few days. I was going to tell you in 2 days anyway. Chun then opened a message from the bracelet and measured his spiritual power. It showed a value of 600. At that moment, a huge number of students were using the bracelets to measure their spiritual power. Meanwhile, at another school, a group of students was also testing their power levels during an important meeting. One student was so strong that his power placed him at the top of the national ranking among the top 10 students. His name was Tang. Back with Wong's friends, Gu tested his power, but it was quite weak, only 175. Then, Sun tried, and her results were astonishing. Her power level was 3,952, ranking her second. Next, it was was Wong's turn. When he measured his power, the result was overwhelmingly high, leaving everyone in shock. Realizing this, he quickly moved the orb elsewhere to avoid destroying the house. The system then displayed his power as 0, confusing everyone. They asked, where did Wong's energy orb go? In reality, a gigantic orb, as large as the sun, had appeared above the planet. Soon, everyone discovered that Wong was now ranked first, with an unmeasurable power value. After that, Wong's friends said their goodbyes and left. That night, Wong and Gu sat together, trying to hack the system to change their rankings. At the same time, Yang and Bai were also hacking the system, checking if everything was normal or if Wong was truly that powerful. Unfortunately, none of them could penetrate the system, as the security and encryption were at an extremely high level. Wong then tried, typing 8 asterisks. Suddenly he gained access. Bai immediately noticed that someone else had breached the system and was modifying the data. Gu adjusted his results. Yang asked Bai, who's the hacker? Bai replied, some idiot. If he keeps messing with the system this much, he'll trigger the alarm soon with this stupidity. Yang warned, if they find out what we're doing, we'll be expelled from school. In the end, Gu accidentally triggered the alarm. He and Bai quickly exited the system, barely escaping before they were caught. Bai then told the students, next month, we might meet Sun and Wong in the Spirit Sword tournament. Tang smirked and said, oh, we'll definitely meet them. And when we do, I will crush them for sure. Then, the results of the strength test for the farmers appear, and the teacher tells Teacher Ban that Wong is in first place. The teacher is shocked and asks if the system made a mistake. The teacher replies, you studied in the elite class, tell me, what do you think about this? The teacher thinks and says that Wong's level is a bit different from his classmates, and he is always silent, so how did he come first internationally? The teacher says, this time we have 2 students who ranked first internationally, but there's a problem. Our school, Faction 60, is up against Faction 59. Teacher Ban is shocked and says, why are we facing the strongest school in the first round? He replies, that's because Wong and Sun raised our ranking this year. Teacher Ban says, we faced Faction 59 about 24 times, lost 23, and had 1 draw. The teacher responds, you're right, and that draw happened when Mr. Gu, our school's genius, was still a student. Then Gu replies, I have a feeling we will have a very interesting competition this year. We might see unexpected results. The chubby teacher says, we need to decide who will participate in this competition. Teacher Ban tells them, I don't know how you all are so calm. Meanwhile, the students of Faction 59 are training in the diverse environment training field. The journalists are interviewing Tang, and the reporter asks, what preparations are you making for the Spirit Sword competition? He replies, we are fully prepared, and our students have undergone rigorous training for a month to achieve the best results in the competition. Tang then gives a very impressive and passionate speech that catches the attention of all viewers, even the reporter. The reporter asks, what message do you want to send to your competitors from Faction 60? Tang replies, I challenged the princess in the sword competition, and I hope she shows us the power of her family. The reporter then asks, and what do you say to Wong, the first-ranked student internationally? Tang gets very annoyed. The reporter continues, that was probably a system error. I was just asking if you wanted to say anything to him. Tang replies, I wish him luck in his training. At that moment, the teacher and Mr. Gu finish selecting the team that will compete in the tournament. Teacher Mao asks them, are you sure about this? All the students in the competition are at the top international level. Yes, Sun is first class, but the rest. Gu interrupts her and says, I trust your teaching quality, and tricks her into agreeing. However, she tells them that they are still missing 1 student. The teacher reassures her, don't worry. Mr. Gu and I discussed the matter and presents the 5th member, a frog dog. They let the frog dog take the strength test, put the bracelet on it, and start the exam. Gu cheers for the frog dog, saying, if you score 5,000, I'll let you out of the lock this time. The dog gets excited and scores 5,000 points, becoming second in rank after Wong. Then, a group of students from Tang's class comes and tells him that someone has surpassed him in spiritual strength. He learns that it's a spirit beast, a frog dog. Tang gets even more irritated. Meanwhile, Gu is discussing everything with the teachers, and they finalize all the details. At the end of the school day, Sun says goodbye to her friends and leaves, while they also head home. The chubby teacher is at a restaurant eating, then calls the 4 students along with the frog dog and congratulates them for being selected for the upcoming competition. The students celebrate their participation and start showing each other their spirit swords. At that moment, the principal of Faction 59 calls Tang and asks, are you ready for the competition? He replies, yes, I have collected all the students' swords to examine them thoroughly. She tells him, alright, but they are only 4 students. He replies, that's because the 5th person is dangerous. The teacher is shocked and says, are you seriously taking this risk and using that guy? Aren't you afraid of the consequences that might happen in the competition? Tang Tang replies, there's no way we will lose this year, looking very determined. She tells him, alright, do whatever you want. Tang says, I will never let Faction 60 win the competition, and leaves. Then, it is revealed that the person he wants to bring in is Yang, who is nothing more than a thug that uses his power to harm others. At that moment, the news reports that the 7 magic powers have finally captured the Shadow Gang after discovering their main hideout for the first time. Later, Gu arrives, and reporters gather around him to get a statement. He tells them, I have faced the Shadow Group twice in my life and always managed to foil their plans, but this time, the situation is exceptional. He then addresses the organization's leader, saying he is eager to meet her again. The leader hears his words, gets furious, and smashes the screen. Meanwhile, Wong is watching the news with his family at home. Wong suddenly asks, where is my sword? His father is surprised and asks, what sword? Then Wong goes to the storage room, searches the box, and at that moment, a small boy pops out of it. Wong quickly pushes him back inside, looks at his phone, and finds a message from the teacher saying they will go to school 59 tomorrow. At that moment, the power control card on Wong's back malfunctions. The next day, Wong shows his sword to his friends, who are surprised that it's just an ordinary small wooden sword, but the frog dog senses an immense power from it, as usual with Wong. Then, the teachers arrive and inform the students that the competition will last 5 days, meaning they will be staying overnight. Are you all ready? The chubby teacher then asks Wong, is that the sword you will use in the competition? He looks surprised, but in reality, Wong hasn't prepared anything at all because he plans to pretend to be sick and not participate in the competition. The students board the bus to head to the competition. At that moment, a member of the magic squad informs Gu that they have captured the Shadow Gang's leader. He rushes to see her and asks, are you sure it's her? He enters the cell, sees her, and steps closer, saying, finally, we meet. But it turns out to be a trap. A bomb puppet explodes, destroying the entire area. The leader watches from afar and says, what do you think of my gift, Teacher Gu? She is also watching the bus heading to the tournament, revealing that everything had been her plan from the start. Even the capture of the main hideout was a setup to make them take the explosive puppet as if it were her. As for the plan to eliminate Miss Sun, the leader decides to execute it personally this time. At that moment, the boy who is actually Wong's sword wakes up and tries to get out, but Wong keeps pushing him back inside. The boy gets annoyed, and Wong tells him, didn't we agree yesterday? You're not supposed to appear at all. At the end of the day, I'll give you crispy noodles. Later, Wong's team arrives at School 59, where the students and the principal are waiting to welcome them. It is then revealed that Teacher Ban and Principal Sher used to be close friends from Faction 59 and were even roommates. Unfortunately, they are now rivals. Principal Sher keeps provoking Teacher Ban, and they keep throwing verbal jabs at each other as if it were World War III. At that moment, Wong prepares to act as if he has a stomachache to withdraw from the tournament. Meanwhile, Principal Sher is preparing a strong attack and strikes Wong. Wong is shocked but quickly pretends to be injured. His classmates and teachers become concerned about him. At that moment, the leader watches from afar. Suddenly, a malfunction occurs in the card controlling Wong's power, unleashing an enormous energy. Everyone is stunned by Wong's overwhelming strength. Wong turns to his sword spirit and asks, why didn't you tell me earlier that my talisman had a problem? The sword replies, I tried to tell you several times on the bus, but you kept stopping me. At that moment, Wong's power becomes unstable. If he doesn't take the pill to suppress his energy immediately, his health will deteriorate completely. Principal Sher says, this kid is very talented at acting. Sun gets angry and yells, his condition is critical because of you. Do you even realize the situation you're in? Principal Sher looks confused and says she didn't do anything to deserve such a reaction. She then asks Tang, did you do something? He looks up and replies, maybe the dangerous person is the one who caused this. But in reality, he had nothing to do with it. He was just watching from a distance. Wong is actually fooling everyone, taking full advantage of the situation. At that moment, the leader receives a report that her assassination attempt on Gu has failed. It turns out he managed to stop the plan at the last moment due to his extremely fast reflexes. The leader decides to withdraw. Meanwhile, the medical team from School 59 arrives and takes Wong for a checkup. Thus, Wong's plan succeeds for now. At that moment, the nurses take Wong to the clinic and Sun follows them, but Tang stops her and says, Sun, do you remember me? I'm Tang. We were in school together before. I am now the president of the student union in Faction 59. If you don't mind. Sun cuts him off angrily and says, get out of my way now. She is about to hit him when Bai stops her. Tang then tells her that Bai is the secretary of the student union at the school. Chun tries to help Sun, but other students from Faction 59 stop him, saying, are you trying to start a fight now? Sun replies to Yang, do you know why I joined Faction 60? Because Faction 59 is full of trash like you. Yang says, says, I know why you're not interested in me, because Wong is here, but don't worry about him, he's safe in Faction 59. I guarantee you he'll be fine. Before Yang can finish his sentence, Wong suddenly bursts into flames. At that moment, Principal Shi arrives and quickly heals him, taking him to the medical room. Yang sarcastically comments, what just happened? Did he burn himself with magic or something? Sun immediately draws her sword and is about to strike Yang, who is terrified. But the chubby teacher quickly stops her, saying, calm down, use your sword in the competition only. Teacher Ban tells Principal Shi, you should control your students better. Yang apologizes to the principal and admits, this was all my fault. Then Principal Shi tells everyone, come with me to the sports hall so we can discuss the competition. Meanwhile, the dangerous boy is actually the one who set Wong on fire. Wong is taken to the medical room where the nurse asks what happened to him. They tell her he was burned with magic. However, Wong is no longer inside the wrap that Principal Shi had covered him with. He is now exploring the school. He calls his father at that moment and tells him that the talisman is broken and asks him to wait outside the school to bring him a new one. His father immediately grabs his flying sword and rushes to Wong. Meanwhile, everyone else arrives at the sports hall. The students are amazed by the size of the hall and how incredible it looks, but the students from Faction 59 mock them. At that moment, Principal Shi explains the competition rules to the students. It will be a 5v5 match across 5 different environmental arenas. The goal is to insert their spirit sword into the stone structure to earn a point. Whoever controls all 5 structures scores 100%, winning the competition. Meanwhile, Wong is still wandering around the school when his sword spirit asks, did you lose your way? Wong replies, yeah, I think so, but I can't use my spiritual energy or I'll end up destroying something. The sword tells him, I can sense an exit nearby. Wong finds the exit and at that moment, Yang announces that Faction 60's team does not meet the minimum number of members, meaning they should be disqualified. Sun yells, aren't you the one who injured Wong? Then Gu interjects, can't you count? Look at your team, you're also only 4. Yang smirks and says, our 5th member has been here all along. Suddenly, a water-based magical attack is launched at Faction 60 students, but they dodge it quickly. The dangerous boy appears, moving at incredible speed. He hands a flower to Sun, but she refuses and asks, why would I take this from you? I don't even know you. He replies, you don't need to know me. No one does. But if you accept this flower, I will help you take down Leader Yang and his team. What do you think? Principal Shi gets angry and yells, are you betraying us? The boy responds, I don't care. There's a huge gap in power between the teams, so this will balance things out. At that moment, Chun attacks the boy, shouting, get your hands off Sun now. The boy counters with a deadly attack, sending Chun flying far away. He then keeps striking him until he slams him into the ground. Everyone is stunned by his strength, but Chun refuses to give up and gets back on his feet. This only angers the boy more, and he launches another attack, aiming to finish off Chun. But just before he lands the final blow, Wong suddenly appears and rescues Chun. It is then revealed that the world is still in danger because if Wong's talisman explodes, his energy will be unleashed, which would destroy everything. At that moment, Wong's father calls him and says he is outside and that Wong needs to come out. Wong replies, I'm busy right now, I can't come out, and hangs up. The dangerous boy gets furious at Wong and attacks him, but Wong dodges effortlessly and continues walking as if nothing happened. Sun checks on him at that moment and Wong hands her a flower. Wong's sword spirit gets extremely irritated with the boy and tells Wong, finish off that fool, master. Wong replies, shut up and stay put. Then Principal Shi tells the students, since everyone is here, please proceed to the preparation room. Meanwhile, the leader of the Shadow Gang successfully infiltrates Faction 59 school, disguised as a student, and is observing everything without being detected. At that moment, Mr. Gu discovers the leader's plan and rushes toward Faction 59 school. Back with the students, they are heading to the preparation room, but Wong doesn't join them, saying he needs to buy crispy noodles with potato flavor. The leader is watching and thinks, this is finally my chance. But she is suddenly surprised by the dangerous boy standing behind her. He has caught her and says, stop acting. You're not from Faction 59. He tries to befriend her foolishly and even insults her, calling her an old lady. She gets enraged and beats him up brutally. Meanwhile, Wong gets his noodles and heads back to his team, only to find that the leader has tied up the boy and hung him up. Then Then, the leader takes the evil boy and Wong, both tied up, and throws them onto the rooftop because they discovered her plan. She has an old man assisting her in the school and tells him to keep a close watch on them. The old man tells her those two are still in the foundation stage. They can't do anything. The dangerous boy struggles to free himself and resists, suffering greatly from the magical ropes, while Wong remains completely unbothered. The leader says that Wong seems special since Sun cared about him a lot at the school gate. She then stomps on him and kicks him forcefully. At that moment, Wong's magic sword is asleep, unaware of what's happening. When it finally wakes up, it looks around confused and asks Wong, "What got you tied up like this, master?" Meanwhile, the other boy is in severe pain as the old man absorbs his soul energy, finishing him off completely. At the same time, Wong's control talisman is completely destroyed. The sword tells Wong that from now on, he must rely on himself. Then, the leader strikes Wong and tells him, "You are from class 5, which means you will always be useless." Suddenly, Wong is about to lose control due to his anger. His sword tries to wake him up, but there is no response. In the end, it finally succeeds by telling him there's a 50% discount on crispy noodles. At that moment, the old man takes a strand of hair from the dangerous boy so the leader can use it to disguise herself and carry out her plan to eliminate Sun. Meanwhile, all the students and teachers are in the meeting room when the dangerous boy suddenly bursts in, shouting that there's a big problem. It is revealed that the leader is actually disguised as him. He tells them that Wong has been kidnapped. However, the old man is still holding the real two captive on the rooftop, watching over them. The old man tells them, "As long as you stay quiet, the leader will free you immediately after she kills Miss Sun." The dangerous boy says, "I've always wanted to join the shadow gang. If you untie me, I'll tell you everything I know." The old man smirks and says, "You're a very smart boy. My leader will be very pleased with you. But unfortunately, only the leader can deal with the immortal ropes, so you'll have to stay put until she gets here." The boy then says, "I heard that the shadow gang uses numbers to classify their members. You seem impressive. What's your number?" The old man laughs and says, "I don't have a number. I'm just the leader's driver." The boy laughs and says, "Looks like the shadow gang is short on skilled members if they let someone like you handle the mission in the end." At that moment, the old man gets furious and launches a massive flaming arrow from the sky at him. The boy is terrified and panics. Wong's sword spirit says that Driver has immense spiritual power, but he's hiding it. Meanwhile, the leader continues acting in disguise, pretending to be the boy while telling the others how she captured Wong's heart. Gu begins to gather descriptions of the leader to confirm if the person being described is indeed the leader. The boy confirms, yes, it's her. Gu then announces to everyone, the one who kidnapped Wong is the leader of the shadows. Then, Yang asks Bai to track Wong's location, and she reports that his spiritual signal is extremely weak. At that moment, the guard sees Sun and restrain her, saying, "I will send a security team since we must act quickly. Miss Sun's safety is our top priority. I hope you all understand that." Gu says, "Indeed, Sun is still the shadow gang's target, so we must take our precautions." Principal Sher then says, "This is a problem. Since Faction 60's team is still missing members, they can't participate in the competition." At that moment, Sun fights off her guards and frees herself. She tells Gu, "We are the Flowers of Virtue group." She declares that she doesn't care about the competition. What matters is saving Wong. Her team gets fired up, drawing their swords. The head guard is very proud of her, seeing how much she has grown, becoming brave and making her own decisions. Sun and her guards set off to rescue Wong. Principal Sher tells Tang and his team, watch them closely in the real battle to observe their actual performance. Do not interfere unless absolutely necessary. Meanwhile, the old man is still on the rooftop, listening to music and dancing. At that moment, the boy calls out to Wong and says, "I know you're hiding your true power." But the boy is shocked to see Wong sound asleep, completely unaware of what's happening. The sword keeps trying to wake Wong up, and eventually, Wong wakes up. As the old man finishes dancing to his song, he approaches them and says, "Now it's time to get back to business." The boy starts screaming and calling for help. At that moment, the old man strikes him with such force that he crashes through the ground, falling to the floor below. At the same time, Sun finds out where Wong is and gets closer to his location with her guards. She sees the old man lifting Wong high up, and the team rushes at full speed. Meanwhile, the leader is still chasing them in disguise, staying right behind Sunday. The team from Faction 59 is observing Faction 60's team. Bai tells Tang that dangerous boy is acting strange. Be careful of him. Tang rushes forward with his team and tells Bai, "You keep an eye on him from behind." The old man attacks the guards and takes down many of them before they even reach him. They try to fight back, but none of their attacks land. The old man then unleashes the Golden Berry Strike and finishes them off with his devastating attack. Meanwhile, in the harbor control room, Wong's father is still standing outside the school, but the security guards continue to prevent him from entering. At that moment, the old man prepares another devastating move called the Yellow Palace's hidden treasure. The teachers watching are confused, unable to understand what he is doing. A massive army of knights emerges from the old man's magical power and charges at them. The chubby teacher yells at the students, telling them all to run immediately. Sun tries to block the old man's attack, and surprisingly, her strike succeeds, completely nullifying the attack with ease. Then, a fierce battle begins between the old man and Sunday. It's an intense fight. Suddenly, time rewinds back to the moment before the old man struck the boy. The same event happens again. The old man strikes the boy, sending him crashing to the floor below. The old man then looks at Wong, who now smiles at him. This time, the old man feels real fear. Sun and her guards rush again to reach Wong, but this time, they find the old man tied up instead, being lifted into the air by Gu, who tells them, "I've already defeated the driver, so there's no problem anymore." Everyone is shocked. Reporters arrive and hold a press conference with Gu, who declares that he has successfully rescued the hostages. The leader, still disguised as the dangerous boy, is furious but remains undercover. She is extremely frustrated that she failed to eliminate Sun. At that moment, Yang approaches the disguised leader, places his hand on her shoulder, and says, "Why do you look so upset?" Meanwhile, the magic officer asks Wong about the hole in the rooftop. "Did that happen during the battle?" Wong replies, No, it was already here when we arrived." At this point, the dangerous boy has completely disappeared from sight. Wong's magic sword is the one hiding the boy and asks Wong, "Don't you want them to rescue that guy?" Wong replies, "Just stay next to him and watch him closely. Don't let him escape." The sword responds, "Alright, but what about the competition?" Wong says, "Don't worry, the competition is already over." Then Wong goes down to his friends, who are all happy to see him. The competition begins the next day. Wong is carefully watching the boy, and the leader is puzzled about why Wong is still hiding the fact that she is in disguise. She thinks to herself, he's probably just a beginner. That's why this is happening. The announcer explains the competition's rules and conditions to the students. The tournament is officially opened, and the reporters capture the event as usual. Wong, who was initially trying to avoid participating in the competition, is now excited and eager to play. The match begins, and each team moves to their designated location, assigned by the magic stone. Meanwhile, Wong's father rushes to reach him and apply the seal, but he is already too late. Teacher Ban approaches Wong's father and asks, "What are you doing here?" Gu greets him, and Teacher Ban is surprised to see that they know each other. Wong's father takes Gu aside and explains the issue with the talisman, saying it must be replaced immediately. Gu becomes extremely nervous. The competition begins, and Faction 59's team arrives at the Earth Arena. They search for the dangerous boy, but Bai says his power is now completely different from what was recorded in the files, so they can't pinpoint his location. Yang tells his team they must also be cautious if they encounter the dangerous boy, treating him as an enemy. At the same time, Faction 60's team also arrives at the arena, but each of them is in a different location. Chun is near the metal structure, Sun is at the water structure, and the dog is at the fire structure. It is then revealed that the dangerous boy is also at the fire structure. The team members ask where Wong is, and Bai replies that Wong's spiritual power is 0, so he is completely off the radar. They won't know his location until they see him. At that moment, Yang deduces that Wong must be in the south, the only area left. A team member rushes toward Wong, saying, "Leave him to me. I'll finish him off. The wood structure will be ours." At that moment, the fat boy on Yang's team asks about Gu, but no one answers him. Yang tells him, "Don't be impatient. We'll definitely run into him." They move forward, unaware that Gu is actually hiding behind a large rock right next to them. Suddenly, Yang strikes Gu with his sword, seemingly taking him out. He laughs and orders Bai to handle Chun at the metal structure while he heads to Sun at the water structure. It is then revealed that Gu escaped from Yang and is still in the game. He hasn't been eliminated. He observes the wild boy sprinting toward Wong at the wood structure and remarks that Faction 59 students are incredibly strong. He has already lost one of his 3 spirit entities in the game since the beginning. Suddenly, Faction 59's team captures one of the structures right at the start of the game. Chun gets excited and rushes toward the metal structure, but out of nowhere, he gets struck in the face for no apparent reason. He finally reaches the structure and asks, "How do I capture this?" Bai tells him, "Just insert your sword into the structure, and after 10 seconds, you'll control it." Chun thanks her and finally understands the process. Then Bai says, "What are you doing, Chun? That structure belongs to me. Step away from it." Chun replies, "Look, my family has a saying, men don't fight women. I'll let you attack me 3 times for free. Go ahead, quickly." Suddenly, he smirks and says, "Alright, your turn is over now." He doesn't understand what she did and asks, "Are you mocking me?" To his shock, she has has set up a magical spider web everywhere. She can control his body with it effortlessly. He starts punching himself violently and doesn't understand what's happening. He yells, "When did you set up this dirty trick?" and continues to hit himself. Meanwhile, at the fire structure, the dog and the dangerous boy face off. The dog lunges at him, but he dodges the attack. Then, the dangerous boy prepares a powerful strike, but it has no effect on the dog. The dog then hides and takes a break. At the same time, the wild boy from Faction 59 reaches Wong at the wood structure and is shocked to find Wong lying on the ground as if he were dead. He rushes toward the structure to capture it first. At that moment, Wong hears the dog's voice and starts thinking of a devious plan to break his seal. Wong wakes up and stands up. The wild boy sees him and says, "Oh, you're still alive? Excellent." He is about to attack Wong when Goose suddenly strikes him with a word-based magic attack. However, the wild boy blocks Goo's strike. Goo thinks to himself, "Good, I arrived just in time." The wild boy then says to Goo and Wong, "Idiots will always be idiots no matter what." He then charges at them with immense power. A fierce battle begins between Goo and the wild boy, while Wong does absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, Sun inserts her sword into the water structure, starting the countdown to capture it. She thinks to herself, "I need to capture this quickly and then rush to Wong in case he's in trouble." Suddenly, Yang arrives and attacks her. She dodges his strike effortlessly. Then, Sun's sword transforms into spiritual energy in the form of a girl. Yang's sword also turns into a spiritual entity, taking the form of a warrior. Sun tells Yang, "You haven't changed at all. You're still just as cunning as ever." Yang replies, "And you haven't changed either, skilled as always. But this is just a meeting between old friends, right?" Sun shuts him down, saying, "You are not my friend at all." Yang laughs and says, "Alright, fine. Let's settle this once and for all. But you do realize that our families have had excellent relations for thousands of years? That bond won't break so easily." Sun yells, "Shut up," and launches a powerful attack at him. But Yang dodges it. A fierce battle between their spirit swords begins. Yang taunts, "If you want me to shut up, you'll have to defeat me first, right?" At that moment, Sun realizes that Faction 59 has already captured 3 structures. It is revealed that the dangerous boy has taken control of the fire structure. Yang calls out to the dangerous boy, "Come to the water structure. There's someone who wants to meet you." The dangerous boy replies, "Alright." Sun is surprised that Yang's team knows the exact locations of all her teammates. Yang smirks and says, "Did you forget about Bai? She can track all of your team's movements." Sun realizes she must capture the water structure quickly. Yang grins and says, "I know exactly what you're thinking. That's why you need to hurry. We're about to capture the final structure soon." Suddenly, Sun hears Chun screaming in pain. Bai has defeated him and he collapses from hitting himself too much. She has taken control of the metal structure. Sun gets furious and reverts her sword to its normal form, preparing to launch a powerful attack at Yang. She charges at him with full force, but Yang counters with his falling ice trick, freezing the entire area. He turns the entire battlefield into ice. Sun attacks with all her strength, but Yang's spirit sword blocks her effortlessly, making all her strikes useless. At that moment, the dangerous boy arrives at the battlefield and suddenly attacks Sun. She barely blocks his strike. She immediately senses danger and doesn't know what to do. The dangerous boy smirks and says, "We meet again, Miss Sun." Sun considers using her water-based technique, but she realizes she can't. The river is already frozen by Yang. Suddenly, a massive disturbance shakes the river, confusing everyone. Sun takes advantage of the chaos. The ice on the river breaks, allowing her to disappear. Yang tells the dangerous boy she must be hiding. "You find her, I'll capture the structure." Yang then says, "I don't care who you are, but you must follow my orders. I'll help you get what you want in the end." The dangerous boy laughs and walks away. At that moment, Yang places his sword in the structure and the countdown begins. He successfully captures it. But then, he is shocked to see that they have lost control of one of their structures. Faction 60 has taken it. Sun is now running underwater and hears Gu say, the dog and Wong have fused together. Wong has become incredibly strong and a genius. Sun is shocked and thinks, "I need to get to Wong immediately." Everyone is stunned that Wong has captured the wood structure by merging with the frog dog. And we go back in time to Go's fight with the savage boy, as Go keeps using the word cannon from his mouth against the boy. The boy gets exhausted from the attack of words, and Go also runs out of most of his words, not knowing what to do next. At that moment, the boy laughs and says, "Oh, have you run out of your dictionary or what? You fat, disgusting guy, shoot as many words at me as you want. In the end, I will still defeat you." Go gets nervous, unsure of what to do next. Just then, the dog arrives at their location and is shocked to see Wong sitting in front of him. He wonders how Wong got there. The savage boy passes by Wong and says, "Stay right there, you piece of trash. I'll come and crush you soon." He gets mad at Wong, kicks him, and Wong throws himself to the ground, pretending to be injured. Go gets angry because the boy hit Wong and attacks the boy again with the word cannon, even more powerfully. The boy is surprised that the power of the words has increased beyond normal. At this moment, Wong remembers how he acted coldly towards Qin and the others when they were happy to have saved him from the leader. At that moment, energy explodes from Wong's amulet, and the dog rushes to stop him before Wong destroys the world with his power. The dog tries to consume the energy radiating from Wong, and the savage boy is confused, saying, "Why is the dog biting his own companion?" At this moment, Wong uses his power to merge with the dog, and the dog transforms into a helmet for Wong that controls his raging energy. Everyone is stunned by what's happening and how they merged like that. Go asks Wong, "Tell me, what is this trick called? A human in a dog's form?" The boy laughs loudly and says, "That's just a dog and a crazy kid. What difference will it make if they merge? That kid is from category 5 anyway." The boy points his sword at Wong, but Wong approaches him and merely touches his sword with a finger, completely destroying it. The boy is in shock, unable to believe what's happening. Wong walks past him and says, "Excuse me, can you let me through?" He then places his hand lightly on the boy's shoulder, and at that moment, the boy feels as if a car has hit him from the left side, sending him flying into the sky, disappearing among the stars. Go is overjoyed, but Wong says, "Let's take control of this structure first." Everyone is shocked by Wong's control over the wooden structure and his fusion with the dog, along with the incredible power that suddenly appeared. The director sure is surprised and asks the fat teacher, "Did you teach Wong how to merge with an animal?" He takes the opportunity to boast and replies, "Of course." She then says, "I want to learn it too," and pleads with him. When the Faction 59 team learns what happened, everyone is stunned, especially Yang, who is furious and in disbelief. He says, "Is there really such a fusion of power? Is he really this strong?" She replies, "Yes, the spiritual fusion is extremely powerful." Yang says, "That kid tricked us all and hid his trick until the end. Where is he now?" By replies, "At the fire structure." Suddenly, an announcement is made that Faction 60 has taken control of the fire structure as well, meaning they now control 2 structures. Yang becomes furious and looks at the dangerous boy, who responds, "Don't look at me. You were the one who told me to come." Yang asks Bai, "Where is Qin?" She replies, still unconscious, but the fat boy Go is guarding the wooden structure. "Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find her location yet." Yang angrily says, "She's hiding in her lake." Bai tells Yang that Wong is also the one who took over the fire structure and is heading toward her at great speed. Yang orders the dangerous boy to go to the earth structure immediately and defend it at all costs. He also orders the fat boy to hurry and take control of the fire structure. The team moves quickly, and Yang tells Bai to meet him at the wooden structure as soon as possible. At this moment, Wong reaches Qin and finds him unconscious. He wakes him up quickly. Qin wakes up and is angry at Bai, but she is nowhere to be found. Wong ignores him and takes control of the earth structure. When Qin finally regains his focus, he asks Wong, "What is that thing on your head?" Wong explains that he merged with the dog. Qin blinks and opens his mouth wide, then says, all right, I finally understand." Faction 60 is shocked to find that the number of structures they control has suddenly dropped back to 1. But then, their number of controlled structures returns to 3 after they take over the metal structure. Qin, feeling excited, says, "Tell me quickly, how did you do all this?" Wong smiles, happy to see his friends happy. Qin is thrilled that Wong is happy and smiles too. At that moment, Wong doesn't even know why he's happy. It's a feeling he's never experienced before. Meanwhile, his father watches him through the screen. He is the only one who understands the reason, and he sheds tears of joy. Wong and his team are shocked to find that they are suddenly controlling only 1 structure, while Faction 59 has taken control of 4 structures again. At that moment, Wong understands Yang's plan and unleashes even greater power. He thinks about taking over all the structures immediately before Faction 59 can. Even the instructors are surprised by what Wong wants to do and say that even if Wong's speed helps him, there's no way he can surpass the 10-second limit required to complete control over a structure. At that moment, Sun calls out to Wong, but Qin responds and asks her what happened. She tells them that she and Go Go are now close to the wooden structure. Qin then calls Go a coward, but Go snaps back. You're the coward. Yang and Bai appeared out of nowhere. What was I supposed to do? I had to run quickly. Sun yells at them. Shut up. Go did the right thing. The goal of this competition isn't to defeat the opponent. The idea is to take control of the structures. That's why we need to avoid unnecessary fights. Meanwhile, the dangerous boy stands bored at the earth structure, while Yang and Bai are at the wooden structure. At that moment, Bai tells Tang that she found Sun's location. Yang gets excited and says, I still want to see all of Sun's tricks. Sun then comes up with an excellent strategy for her team, and they all agree on it. However, it depends on Qin standing his ground and defending the wooden structure with all his might, no matter what. Qin gets excited, knowing that he'll play a key role in this plan. They launch the plan, and Go and Sun attack the fire structure. Bai is shocked and quickly informs Yang. Yang thinks and realizes that the fire structure is the one farthest from them. He assumes they'll take the normal route, which means they must pass by the earth structure. However, at that moment, they take a shortcut through the lake instead. Go charges in and attacks the other fat boy, and a fierce battle begins between them. At that moment, Yang tells the fat boy, both Go and Sun are at your location. But the fat boy replies, no, only Go is in front of me, and I will finish him off. Go keeps provoking the fat boy, saying, I was the one who took down your brother. This makes the fat boy even angrier. So, you're the one who hurt my brother. His focus completely shifts. At that moment, Sun enters the fire cave to take control of the fire structure. At the same time, Wong takes control of the water structure and sits there. At that moment, Yang tells the fat boy, if you lose the fire structure, I will expel you from the student union. Do you understand? At that moment, the fat boy notices Sun, and Go tries to provoke him further. However, he ignores Go and rushes towards Sun instead. At this moment, the leader, in the form of the dangerous boy, remembers what Yang told her, that it doesn't matter who she is, only that she follows orders and secures victory in the end. He also promised to help her achieve everything she wanted. We then see the fat boy running at full speed, trying to reach Sun before she can remove his sword. Go is chasing him, attacking him with the word cannon to slow him down. We go back in time to the first time Sun and Yang met through their families, and we learn that there has always been a strong rivalry between them. We return to the present, to the moment when Go attacked the fat boy, but the boy falls to the ground by himself, delaying Sun's attack instead of stopping him. The fat boy laughs at Go and says, thanks for the competition. I'll just finish the match first, and then I'll take revenge for my brother. Go apologizes to Sun. Sun remembers her grandfather's words, that she must never lose, especially not against the family that humiliated hers for 14 years by keeping them in confinement. She tells Go, I'm fine, and then sees Yang arriving, now standing next to Go. Yang shouts at the fat boy, you idiot, why are you hesitating like that? You're giving them the chance to take control of the structure. The fat boy quickly charges at Sun, and she faces him. Go tries to help again, saying he won't make the same mistake this time, attempting to stop him with earth magic. But unfortunately, the boy still gets past him and draws his magic sword. At the same time, Sun places her sword in the structure while attacking with the flying sword technique. The instructor and the director watch the battle from the screen. The director says, Sun is the best one in Faction 60's team, but I still think she tries to outsmart her way to victory. Unfortunately for her, she has to place her sword by hand for the countdown to start. At the moment Sun holds the boy off, she runs quickly to touch the sword and place it with her hand to start the countdown. However, the spirit of Yang's magic sword attacks her sword and completely destroys it. Sun is shocked at that moment and quickly steps back. Yang tries to provoke her, saying, you guys have no hope of winning. This puts Faction 60 in Faction 59's trap. At that moment, the dangerous boy says it's time to move from the stone structure to the metal structure. It's part of Faction 59's plan to always leave the earth structure empty as bait. Meanwhile, Bai is also watching Wong and has set up traps everywhere so that he gets injured the moment he moves. At the same time, Yang explains the strategy to Sun and Go, shocking Go, who says, so, we've already lost no matter what. At that moment, the dangerous boy reaches Qin, but Qin dodges all his attacks. The dangerous boy gets tired and frustrated, saying to Qin, are you just gonna keep running like a rat? Do you even consider yourself a real man? Or are you just a coward who runs away from everything? Qin remembers his father training him, saying, you're a coward. No one in our family is a coward. You're going to bring us shame. Qin cries and tells his father, I don't want to train anymore. I don't want to be a kung fu master. I don't want to know anything about fighting anymore. We return to the present, where Qin keeps dodging the dangerous boy's attacks, thinking to himself, physical strength isn't the answer to everything. The leader becomes even angrier with Qin, fully intending to finish him off. Meanwhile, all the instructors are amazed by Qin's incredible endurance endurance. At that moment, Go realizes that the dangerous boy isn't using his full power. The dangerous boy notices how sharp the leaves in the area are and why the place is called the metal structure. He takes advantage of his surroundings and launches a fierce attack on Chin. At that moment, Chin's father sharpens his weapon, remembering the moment he attacked Chin with full force. But Chin's powerful magic activates, blocking the attack with ease while still on the ground. We return to Chin, who blocks the dangerous boy's attack with his sword and says, "You won't take the structure stone that easily." Meanwhile, the sharp leaves continue cutting into Chin. Yang is surprised that the dangerous boy is taking so long to finish off a student who's still in the foundation stage. Sun also tells Go, "Get out of here now." Go is shocked and says, "All right," before quickly leaving. Yang underestimates Sun's strength at that moment, but Sun tells him, "Don't worry, I'll finish you off right away." Yang laughs arrogantly and says, "After all these years, you haven't changed at all." They both recall a time when she was a child, crying as her mother comforted her, saying, "It's okay, you'll succeed next time." We find out she was crying because Yang had beaten her in the mysterious equation challenge. Yang told her even senior students couldn't solve it, but you're a failure anyway. We return to the present as he repeats the same words, "You're a failure." The fierce battle between the two begins. Meanwhile, Bai continues watching Wong, wondering why he isn't moving at all. At that moment, the dangerous boy approaches Chin, who is exhausted from all the resistance. The boy gets past him and heads toward the structure to take control, but Chin grabs his arm. The dangerous boy gets furious and decides to finish Chin off. The instructors and Wong's father are watching everything unfold. Wong's father tells Director Shi, "You need to stop this mess immediately." She replies, "Don't worry, we put measures in place to protect the characters in the field." Wong's father yells, "I'm talking about the fact that people's souls across the entire world will die because of this." The instructors are stunned by his words. The battle continues between Sun and Yang, as well as between the dangerous boy and Chin. Suddenly, Bai tells Yang, "Something strange is happening. Two powerful spiritual forces are filling the area near the fire and metal structures." Yang asks, "You mean Sun and the dangerous boy, right?" She replies, "No, I mean Go and Chin." At that moment, Go is actually charging a highly dangerous power into his magic sword, while Chin has activated his golden arms. In that moment, Go unleashes the Phoenix Fire attack, making Yang nervous at what he's witnessing. At the same time, Sun and Go defeat Yang, and Chin also defeats the dangerous boy. Meanwhile, everyone is shocked to realize that Wong was never sitting at the water structure. He's actually at the wooden structure and has taken control of it as well. Faction 60's team celebrates, and Chin says Sister Sun's plan actually worked. At that moment, the leader becomes furious and finally decides to reveal her true identity. She then attacks Chin in full rage with her complete power. At that moment, Bai is stunned by everything happening and is even more shocked when she realizes that Wong has taken control of the wooden structure while still sitting in front of her. She becomes completely confused, not understanding how this is even possible or how they did it. Later, we learn that Sun's plan from the very beginning relied entirely on Wong. The frog was the one disguising itself as Wong, remaining seated at the water structure, while Wong had actually sneaked into the wooden structure. Then, the dog suddenly leaps at Bai, scaring her. She panics and screams, "A ghost!" The frog continues frightening Bai, making her fall to the ground, trembling in fear. After that, Sun starts worrying about Chin, since she hasn't heard his voice this whole time. Go reassures her, saying he must be safe as long as the metal structure is still in their control. He tells her not to worry and that he will go check on him, advising her to head toward the earth structure and take control of it so she can be with Wong. At that moment, the instructors are pleased with Faction 60's victory, but Director Shi is extremely tense. Wong's father is also worried about Chin and asks them to bring the screen to the metal structure. Meanwhile, Wong arrives at the earth structure and is just about to take control. At that moment, Wong's emotions are on the verge of spiraling out of control, threatening to destroy everything. He is overwhelmed with tension, but Sun arrives just in time, placing her sword with his. With that, the final score becomes 5-0 in structure control, securing Faction 60's victory. The fat instructor, Go, and Instructor Pan celebrate their triumph in the competition, while Director Shi weeps over her defeat. The scene then shifts to the metal structure, where the leader has struck Chin with full force, leaving him unconscious. Go carries him, trying to wake him up, but it's useless. The fat instructor is furious about what's happening and immediately sends healers to Chin. At that moment, Sun is joking with Wong, and they are both overjoyed. But suddenly, the leader appears behind Sun and strikes her down, killing her. She laughs. Wong is in complete shock. He bursts into tears and is consumed by rage, losing control as his power erupts. He charges charges at the leader, and the entire world is on the verge of destruction from his sheer power. But then, the dog rushes in and stops time. Everyone freezes in place, and the entire world is paralyzed. However, of course, this doesn't apply to Wong's overwhelming power. He shatters the time barrier and still strikes the leader. The leader laughs coldly and says, "So, you were the one protecting Sun from the start, huh? How tragic for you that I killed her anyway in the end." She then launches multiple attacks at him, but naturally, he is completely unaffected. He lands a single devastating blow, sending her flying before unleashing even more power, continuing his relentless assault until he completely crushes her. In the end, she still tries to provoke him, taunting him about Sun and calling him a coward, hoping to push him into finishing her off rather than leaving her helpless and unable to move. She finally begs him to kill her, but he ignores her and walks away. He rushes to Sun, desperately trying to heal her and bring her back, but nothing works. The dog tells him that none of these techniques will help now because the leader struck her brutally and completely destroyed her soul. Wong weeps. After that, Wong summons his spiritual sword, and the sword tells him that the leader has destroyed the vital souls of Lady Sun. So unfortunately, there is nothing they can do for her anymore. Wong then tries to rebuild the world from scratch using his magic, attempting to restore all the material things on the planet. But once again, it's useless. The dog tells him, "Everything you're doing is pointless." "But I stopped time," the dog continues. "That means we have as much time as we need to find a solution." The sword then asks the dog, "You said you can control time, right?" The dog replies, "Yes." Wong says, "That's great. That means we have a chance to go back in time." The dog answers, "Theoretically, yes, but it requires an enormous amount of spiritual energy." Wong replies, "So what?" He then releases an enormous amount of spiritual power, far greater than the entire planet itself. The dog shouts, "Are you crazy? Reversing time flow goes against the laws of nature. It will throw everything into complete chaos." Wong says, "And does that even matter?" The dog warns him, "Do you even realize what the consequences of this are? You could be struck by lightning." Wong replies, "So what? Would that be worse than losing her?" At that moment, the dog fuses with Wong. The dog tells him, "I have lived for tens of thousands of years, and today, I will put my life on the line for this adventure with you." Wong begins the process, manipulating time, passing through every event that happened in the past. At that moment, the scene shifts to the underworld. The moment the queen learns that Sun is the daughter of the largest corporate group, she and her servants panic. Sun asks, "What is happening? Where am I?" One of the servants rushes to her, saying, "Don't worry, this is just a dream." But at that moment, another servant arrives and says, "There is a huge problem, Your Majesty." The queen responds, "Speak quickly. What's the next disaster?" The servant shows her that Wong has begun destroying entire worlds to save Sunday. They immediately send Sun back to her world. However, Wong is still continuing his actions, unaware of what is happening outside of his process. The spiritual sword understands what is happening, joins forces with Sun, and rushes at full speed to stop Wong and reassure him before he destroys everything. She successfully breaks through the process, reaches Wong, and stops him. Wong cries tears of joy when he sees that Sun has returned. They are both overjoyed. After that, everything is restored to the moment when the leader attacked Qin. But this time, Wong strikes the leader from a great distance, completely crushing her from the start. Qin looks behind him, confused, not understanding anything. The entire team celebrates their victory in that moment. The dog asks Wong, "Are you satisfied with this outcome? After everything you did, she doesn't even remember that you did all of this for her. No one will remember what happened." We return to the moment when Wong restores the universe to its original state, only to be shocked that his power refuses to activate. The dog tells him, "You acted against the laws of nature and threw the world into chaos. The old rules no longer exist." Wong asks, "So you're saying we can't restore things to how they were?" The dog replies, "No, there's still a way. You can merge the world you created with the old world. You can combine them together. But unfortunately, everyone will forget everything that happened. No one will remember except for you and me." We return to the present after everything has been restored. Wong's father places the amulet on him, and he returns to his cold, emotionless state due to the amulet.